Hello, and welcome to iHeart Reading. Damn it, I am your host, Jen Johnson, and today I am going to be reviewing the book Before the Fall by Noah Hawley. This author is a New York Times bestseller, and we have a little bit of a suspense on our hands. A tiny, sliver of a mystery, not in the classic sense, but in a way that I feel like my attention will bear. I'm not a big mystery buff, but this book, I do like suspense, so this book was a lot of fun. If you are looking for a book that you can kind of pick up easily and nibble on and get excited about, I would recommend this book. So let's talk a little bit about it. This book received 3.75 stars on Goodreads, and I would have to agree with that 100%. Okay, so what is the book about, and would I recommend it? To start, or for starters, I would definitely recommend it. It is an easy read. It pulls you in. It grabs you from the start, and I feel like it works on your curiosity. One of the things I really, really like about this book is that throughout the entire book, the theme of coincidence or chance or fate is very much a thread throughout the entire book. And that's something that is of great fascination to me. And while it's relatively subtle, it's also very present in the sense that it's almost another character of the book, is that idea of fate and how things happen. For example, on the first page, maybe even one of the first sentences, as everyone has their path, the choice they've made, how any two people end up in the same place at the same time is a mystery. And from there, the story unravels. And what is the story about? The story is about this man named Scott, who the blurb on the back says he's a down-on-his-luck artist. And I think that's putting it a little simply. He's basically just a human being who is living his life, and he's had some struggles, he's had some ups and downs. He is a regular Joe who is sort of coasting through life a little bit and is on board with a bunch of really rich people. So they make him look like a poor guy. But essentially, it's about this guy, Scott, who happens to get a lift on a plane from Martha's Vineyard, flying back over to the mainland, and the plane crashes. When the plane crashes, Scott and a 4-year-old boy of one of these rich families survive, and he rescues them. He's essentially a hero. He pulls them, he swims to shore, which is hours and hours away. So he just swims through the night with himself and the boy. And afterwards, it's the chaos that ensues afterwards. There's an investigation hosted by a barrage of different agencies, and one of the gentlemen on the plane was the manager or the facilitator for a 24-hour news show, which is very much like Fox News. You can pretty much just plug Fox News in for these people and Bill O'Reilly, and you're looking at pretty much the same thing. So this news center or this broadcast news company has a spin on it that is fairly negative, and we learn about, is this an accident? Was it intentional? And so that's where the mystery and the suspense comes. The book is sort of two parts. One part of it is we're listening to Scott's voice and his perspective. And that's the voice that flows throughout the book, is Scott's voice and his interpretation of what's happening in his life, and this investigation and where to go from here. And then there's another side of the book which explores where each of these other individuals who died in the crash, what were they doing just before? What was their life like? What was their history? And how does it all plug into this one moment in time, which I love the idea of. And I'm actually sort of writing a story in a similar vein where it looks at how fate leads us all together and how all of our lives, like the tiniest little moments, are woven together, and you never know how those teeny tiny moments ripple out and affect so many other things and so many other people and so many other events. So I really dig that part. So again, I would recommend it. I would definitely pick it up. It's a good read. It's light, easy, fun, fast and furious. And I can definitely see how this could be made into a movie, which I believe it has been sold to Sony to be made into a movie. So whether it does or doesn't, I don't know. But I can 100% see it being a movie because the main character, Scott, he's kind of an anti-hero hero. And he has this sort of savior mentality that is sort of presented in the book. But he's a cool dude. I like him. So I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying the writer kind of writes him in a way where he has this conscience that makes him a savior of small children and 20-something-year-old women. What I really liked about the book was that thread of fate and chance and happenstance. Those things are very interesting to me. They're behind the scenes every day. We live in a world of 7 billion people. So how is it that I am connecting to you right now via this podcast? How is it that I bump into a stranger and have a conversation? How is it that I meet my friends? How is it that anything occurs? And that I find that extremely fascinating. What drew me to the book was that it's a suspense. I love suspense books if they're done well, and I can pretty much gobble those books down. For me, they're like candy. You know, they maybe don't have, they're not the books of substance and literature, but they taste really good and they're fun and engaging and exciting and yummy. So yeah, I'm always going to pick up a book like that. I will say that one of the things I found a tiny bit distracting was that we did flip between Scott's character and these individuals where, you know, on one hand, I'm saying like, I really love that part because I'm seeing how fate and circumstance led to this exact moment in time in this crash. While I appreciate that, and while I like hearing these individuals' backstories, it's also kind of one of these things where you get really familiar with one character and you just want to keep seeing what's happening in that character's world. So you're reading about Scott, you're in his world, and then you flip to someone else's world that you have no understanding of. And so that part's a tiny bit distracting, but it's definitely part of the book, and it's so slight to even mention, but it is a thing. Like you fall in love with a character. You are on the journey with he or she, and then to switch gears sometimes can be challenging. The other thing that I would say is that I felt like it was kind of wrapped up a little too pretty at the end. All of the things kind of just happened like 1, 2, 3 in order for the book to come to a conclusion. It had been sort of drawn out, and then all of a sudden these pieces started coming together right at the exact moment that, you know, Scott was having his sort of climactic moment in the book of his life, really. So I thought that part was a little too pretty, but not really in the grand scheme of things. It's just something that I noticed. But all in all, I really like the book. It's easy to read. It's fun. It's exciting. It has an element of who did it, who done it, an element of who is this person, who is this individual, who are all of these individuals, and how are they linked? Okay, so that is it for today, you guys. I definitely recommend this book. You should check it out if you have a couple extra minutes, a couple days. I don't know how long it takes you to read a book, maybe a month. This one's fun. Thanks for listening to iHeart Reading. Damn it, I am your host, Jen Johnson. You can find us on several social media platforms such as Facebook and Instagram. Also, if you would like to follow us, please do so. It's pretty easy. Just go to any place where you can follow music. Go to iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, Podbean. And at Podbean, you can go to www.iheartreadingdammit.podbean.com. You can leave me messages there. I believe you can leave comments there in any event. And you can also, I feel like the best place to follow outside of that is Instagram. It's we update there, or I update there fairly often. If you're in the Asheville area, or you will be in the Asheville area, and you have a book that you've read that you love or you hate, I'd love to have you on the show, because I can't possibly read all the books, and I'm curious. I want to know what you're reading, and maybe the listeners out there want to know what you're reading as well. If you have any suggestions for books that you think are amazing, let me know. Leave a comment on Podbean or Instagram or our Facebook page, which those things are iHeartReading. Damn it. Last but not least, once a month, we have a free book of the month that you can potentially win. That goes to one lucky winner in the continental or contiguous United States of America. So if you'd like to learn more about that, go to our Instagram page. It's probably the best place to do that. You can also learn a little bit about that on Facebook, but I'm not as active there. In any event, that is all for today. Thanks again for listening to iHeartReading. Damn it. Until next time, you guys, keep reading and loving what you got. Bye.